Morning, everybody. I want to apologize beforehand. I wasn't thinking we were going to be in the dark, and then I didn't have enough of magnifying glasses to go around for all of the small lettering. So, sorry about that. How are y'all doing? Well, today we are going to talk about the whole armor of God. And what we just heard in Ephesians 6 was Paul talking about what the whole armor of God is for us. So before describing the whole armor of God, how did Paul begin? In verse 10, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil." What does that sound like? Why would we need to put on armor? Any guesses? He goes on, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." So he's basically telling us right there what we might need armor for, right? It's not like what we saw that Roman soldier. It's not against flesh and blood. It's against principalities, powers, against the rulers of darkness, against wickedness in high places. What does that sound like? The world, right? Just going about our everyday lives, sort of needing that armor around us to help protect us from the things that we may have to encounter, right? Whether it be maybe somebody mean at school. What else? Maybe different ideas and stuff like that that maybe are kind of dangerous, maybe we shouldn't be thinking about, and that maybe other people are trying to encourage us to think about and we probably shouldn't, right? Stuff like that. And finally, "Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand the evil day, having done all to stand." Basically, instead of not just putting it on, but actually using the armor, okay, to go about your everyday life, knowing that you have it on and how to use it. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. Okay, so not just putting it on, but knowing what to do with it when it is on, right? Okay, what are the pieces that make up the whole armor of God? There was the belt of truth. There was the breastplate of righteousness. Feet covered with the gospel of peace, the shield of faith, the helmet of God's saving power, and finally the sword of God's message. Okay. So the belt of truth. In the actual verse, he says, "Stand therefore, having your loins girt with truth." So what's the purpose of a belt, practically? Hold your clothes up, right. But when you really think about it, if you're not holding your clothes up, is anything else really going to be held up too? Okay. So it's almost like the belt kind of holds everything together in a sense, right? So you're not really getting anywhere if you don't have the belt holding everything into place. Sound right? Never want to go out there without your belt on, right? Okay. And the belt of truth is basically the same way. Okay, wraps around or encircles your waist, holds everything together. Okay. So what do you think that means? How do you think we can use that when we're out there in the world? Any idea? Yes. a good way to look at it. Because God's truth is the only truth, every action we take must come from Him. This fact allows us to follow God's commandments without deviating from the path. So as long as we know that that truth is the only truth, that's pretty much the belt around us that's going to hold everything up, right? Okay, so everything else is going to basically center from that, just like if you were wearing a belt. And we see reference to that in the Scriptures. From John 8:32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And then was the breastplate of righteousness. It was a continuation of Ephesians 6:14 when he said, and having on the breastplate of righteousness. What do you think the purpose of the breastplate would be? Like, if you were wearing a suit of armor, what does the breastplate protect? Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am? The top, right? What's up here? Your chest. What's in your chest? Heart, right. Anything else? There you go. Lungs. Can't live without either of those, right? Okay? So, protects your heart and lungs. You cannot live without any of those things. So, righteousness protecting those things that we can't live without. What do you think that means? To be righteous means to commit yourself to obeying God's commandments and to live in a way that is honorable to Him. As long as you know that you've committed yourself to that righteousness, you've committed yourself to Him, okay, that is the protection that is going to basically protect those vital organs, could protect you from those things that can harm you in the world. Harm you in a way that might stop you from being able to stay alive. Okay? And that's the theme behind that. You commit yourself to the righteousness, that's what it's going to protect, those vital things. Make sense? We see reference in the Scriptures as well with that. Blessed are they that keep judgment, and he that doeth righteousness at all times. Psalm 106:3. Then there's the feet covered with the gospel of peace. And Paul actually stated, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. So, what is the purpose of foot covering? What's that? That's right. Protect your feet. But what do we typically do with our feet? Why will we walk or run? That's right. It's to get from point A to point B. Okay? As long as they're outfitted in the right way, okay, we can pretty much go anywhere. Wouldn't that be pretty much the assessment? So what would be the meaning behind that? Why would we need to have prepared feet to get from one place to another? That's right. Very, very good. The word gospel, Paul's referring to, means the good news, referring to the sacrifice Jesus made for us. The Lord calls us to share this good news with others everywhere we go. So as long as our feet are outfitted the right way, everywhere we go, we're able to spread that news, right? So whoever we encounter, whether it be at school, at a sporting event, anywhere that we might go, right? We all want to spread that. Make sense? Okay. We also see reference to this in the Scriptures from Romans 10:15. And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. Next is the shield of faith. Paul actually stated, above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. So what's the purpose of a shield? What's that? That's right. Bounces things off. Very good. Yes, ma'am. That's right. That's right. It keeps you safe. Yes, sir. Protects your body. Protects basically anything you put the shield in front of, right? Very good. So we want to be able to protect ourselves specifically from being attacked. Okay? So if we feel like we're being attacked, we're going to put that shield somewhere where we think it's going to be able to protect us the most, right? So, how would faith be able to help us as a shield? Absolutely right. Our faith in the Lord can guard us during our daily trials in the same way a shield would during battle. Okay? We just have to know when to put it in front of things. Okay? We have to be able to decipher the good from the bad. The more we know the Scriptures, the more we pay attention, the better we keep the faith, the easier it is to identify these things and know when to put the shield in front of it, right? Makes sense? You kind of know when something's coming at you like an arrow or something. It's a little bit harder when it's ideas. It's a little bit harder when you're dealing with people that you might trust some in a way, and then maybe all of a sudden they say something or do something that maybe just doesn't seem right. Well, it not seeming right is coming from how well you know the Bible and how well you have your faith, right? We see also reference to that in Romans 8:31. What shall we say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? And there it is right there. As long as we have the faith, that's the shield that we need right there. Now, the helmet of God's saving power. In the Scriptures it was, and take the helmet of salvation. What's the purpose of the helmet? Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. What's going on in your head on a good day? Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. That's right. So, why do we need our head? Mm-hmm. Yes. To think. Very good. Yes, sir. Yeah, to eat too. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Yeah, basically, we can't keep our faith. We can't read Scriptures. We can't do any of those things without this, right? Okay. So the best protection that we have for something like this is the knowledge that we're being saved. We can find peace when we acknowledge the sacrifice that Jesus made for us. And while we encounter the trials of this world, our salvation acts like a helmet in the way that it protects our minds during these trials. It's kind of like when you have that hidden protection, knowing that because you're right with your thinking and your path with your faith, that's the best protection around this, because bad ideas, kind of going down the wrong path, doing the wrong things, it all starts and ends right here. When we have that protection around us, okay, it helps keep those things at bay. It helps keep those things away, right? Sort of like if we're wearing a football helmet or a baseball helmet, okay? Protects those bad things. Does that make sense? We also see reference to this in John 5:24. Verily, I say unto you, he that heareth my word and believeth on him that sent me hath everlasting life. It shall not come into condemnation, but is passed from death unto life. And then we have the sword of God's message. Okay. When he wrote, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. What's the purpose of a sword? Yes, sir. That's right. Protect yourself. Yes, sir. Yes, to attack, right? It's a little bit different than the other pieces of the armor that we've been talking about. Okay, yes, sir. Yes, protect yourself from your enemy. Yes, this is more of a weapon, more so than defense, right? Instead of just protecting yourself, this is something where you can actually actively protect yourself. Okay. It's used to attack, pierce, or split. So what would be the meaning by having something that is more offensive rather than defensive? Yes? That's right. Very good. Through God's Word, we can distinguish between right and wrong. As a result, we can strive to live in a way that is free from sin. His Word is the ultimate truth, and we can find confidence in knowing it is our greatest weapon. So basically, going back to, there's only one truth. Okay? And as long as we know that, backwards and forwards, it acts as kind of a weapon for us. It's our way of basically splitting, distinguishing, getting to the fine detail of what we need to get through our trials. It sort of helps us get through all the details. Sometimes things get lost a little bit. We see this referenced in Matthew 4, 6 through 7. And saith unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. Jesus said unto him, It is written again, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. What Jesus was saying right there is, he is using God's message to basically win an argument. Okay? He's being asked to do something, and he's using God's message as to why he does not do those things. It's the sort of same principle for us here. Okay. All right. Now that we know that what the pieces are, do we really need to wear these pieces to actually have the whole armor of God? I mean, do we actually need to wear armor like that guy every single day? Okay. Where's that armor really? It's up here, right? Okay. As long as we know and understand these things, the armor is there for us. Sound about right? Okay. So, how do we apply all of this in our daily lives? When you're surrounded like this, you're amongst classmates who have like ideas. We're at a gathering here where we have moms and dads, brothers and sisters, relatives who really are pretty much all of the same faith, right? And it's easy to feel strong when you're in here like this. But what about when times are tough? And you feel like maybe that armor just isn't holding up the way that it should. Because let's face it, if it's a suit of armor, it should probably pretty much protect anything, right? And there's going to be times out there where you just feel like it's not doing as well as it should. Or when you encounter people in the world that just don't believe there is such a thing as the whole armor of God. What do they say, typically? When you're out there and you're amongst people who maybe just don't believe what you believe. Do they say anything particular? That's not possible. Y'all are full of it. This is just not the way things work. Stuff like that. Okay. Or that's impossible. So how do we overcome the naysayers? Because it's one thing to talk about the whole armor. It's one thing to know what they mean. It's another thing when you're out and about and you're facing these trials each day. It's hard to overcome people who maybe see you when you're flawed a little bit, like if you maybe say something you shouldn't, or if you show some anger. And they're like, yeah, well, I guess what you believe really just doesn't matter. You're no better than us, and I think I'm doing okay without all of this. But we see in Matthew 19:26, but Jesus beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. So if with God all things are possible, there shouldn't be a word impossible, right? But God has a way of showing us things all the time that we think are impossible. Why is that? Well, if all things are possible with God, yet we see things around us that are impossible. Why is that? Where's the disconnect? That's right. It's right here. If we think it's impossible, but everything is possible through God, something's going wrong right here. And it usually has something to do with those things we were talking about with the armor. Okay, not holding fast to the faith, not believing in the message, the salvation. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, if not, here's something for the naysayers out there that might help you with this. Can I get a volunteer? Macy? Come on up here. Step right over here. You see that pen cap?
Yes, sir.
Please put the pen cap in the bottle.
This one?
Turn it over. There you go. All right. Now, all you have to do is, without touching the table or the bottle with any part of your body, take the pen cap out. Can't touch the table, can't touch the bottle. That's all you got to do. It's all right in front of you. Seem a little impossible? Anybody else? Seem a little impossible? But the answer's right in front of you.
Can I use this one?
Yes, you can.
Can I put water in it?
Yes, you can. Very good. Very, very good. So what do we learn there? For about the first 15, 20 seconds, what were y'all thinking? Pretty impossible, right? Where was the answer? Right in front of her. Okay? Everything is possible with God. You just got to look past and have the faith that it's there. She had the faith when what? When I told her the answer was right there. And that's what we're always trying to do for our brethren, right? Our children, everybody. Okay. Thank you very, very much. And thank you all very much for your time.